Welcome to Stories on the Internet. Story 1. Am I in the wrong here? From the time I started dating until around age 25, I cheated on most of my girlfriends. Not all, but most. Sometimes I actively sought it out. Other times, it just happened when attractive women flirted with me and I flirted back. I'd usually mention having a girlfriend, and sometimes that ended things, but not always. And if I'm being honest, part of me loved when it didn't stop them. There was a thrill in them knowing I was taken and not caring, or in the best cases, when they seemed even more interested because of it. But with my last relationship, I really tried to change. The one before had lasted over a year and ended disastrously when she discovered I'd been messaging an ex and another ex and a girl I'd met at a bar. I genuinely cared about her, and the guilt over how much I hurt her stuck with me. So when I started dating Claire, 24F, who I met on Tinder, I swore I'd prove to myself I could be faithful. Turns out, I couldn't. Claire and I frequented this coffee shop where a barista named Anna, 22F, had always been extra friendly toward me. She knew I was in a relationship, but one day when I went alone, she dialed up the charm, smiling, lingering, and finally slipping me her number with my second espresso. I held out for a day before texting her, and things escalated quickly. She was playful, confident, and knew exactly how to get under my skin, teasing me about Claire. A few days later, we met up, and one thing led to another. Afterward, I couldn't deny how much more intense the chemistry was with her than with my girlfriend. And now? I'm hooked. I'll probably see her again. And as much as I wish I felt remorse, the truth is, I don't. Maybe I'm just wired this way, someone who can't or won't stay faithful. Story 2. This happened a few years ago when we were both in our mid-20s. At the time, I was living with my boyfriend of over a year, who I'd known for 6, and things seemed great. One night, we were happily curled up in bed when, completely out of nowhere, he hit me with this gem. Earlier that week, during a work break, he'd stopped at a gas station, grabbed an energy drink, and took a swig without looking at the can. Almost immediately, he got a gross taste in his mouth, glanced down, and saw black gunk on the rim. He tossed it, but panic set in. What if he'd caught something? So, like any rational person, he went and got a full panel STI test. Spoiler, it came back clean. I was baffled. Why would you get an STI test for a dirty energy drink can? He insisted it was just a precaution. Then I realized he'd never mentioned leaving work, and aside from his job, he barely left our apartment. When I pressed him, he said it wasn't a big deal and accused me of overreacting. His logic? You'd never have known about the doctor's visit if I hadn't told you, so obviously I'm not hiding anything. Somehow, I ended up apologizing, and we resolved it with me calling him an idiot and explaining how STI tests actually work. At the time, I talked myself out of suspicion. We shared locations. He was hardly ever out of my sight. When would he even have time to cheat? And why volunteer such a weird story if he was guilty? Was I really supposed to dump him just for being clueless? Big shocker. A year later, I caught him cheating. The woman was someone new, so this incident wasn't about her. To this day, I can't say for sure that the STI test was a cover-up, but come on. Looking back, I want to shake my past self for ignoring the neon red flag. Now, though, I can laugh about it because I'm with someone amazing who'd never make me question his honesty over a contaminated energy drink. Moral of the story? When someone hands you a sign, take it. Story 3. My best friend, 29M, and I, 31F, met at work 4 years ago. We were in the same department, working side by side, and after about 9 months, we started hanging out outside the office. We became inseparable, thick as thieves. Then, last year, my long-term relationship ended. It was unhealthy, but I loved my partner deeply. The breakup sent me spiraling into depression, and it only got worse when I found out he had a new girlfriend within months. Meanwhile, my best friend got a promotion, so we didn't work together as much, but I still confided in him. That's what friends are for, right? Wrong. In January, he snapped at me, demanding I stop talking about my mental health and the breakup. I respected that and only mentioned it once or twice afterward when something new came up. I gave him space, we talked things through, and I thought we were okay. But then, he just stopped replying to my texts. No explanation, no warning. I checked in multiple times, nothing. Then, yesterday, he messaged in a group chat with another coworker about work, after ignoring me for days. Frustrated, I called him out, politely, asking him not to text me about work if he couldn't even respond to me otherwise. His response? A private message calling me crazy, telling me to take a hint, and declaring he only wants a professional relationship, claiming I'm incapable of one, but he is. I deleted his number. Story 4. My husband, 34M, and I, 30M, were visiting his parents for his birthday. At one point, I took a midday nap and woke up to find I'd wet the bed, something that hasn't happened to me since childhood. Embarrassed, I looked for my husband, but he wasn't in the room. I tried messaging him, only to hear his phone buzz nearby. He'd left it behind. I headed downstairs to find him, but before I could, his mother noticed the stain on my pants. Her reaction was instant and brutal. She started shouting about how disgusting I was. Shaken, I told my husband, who just said, "Ignore her." But she wasn't done. She turned on me, sneering, "You're so disrespectful, aren't you? Coming into my home, pissing in the bed, and not even cleaning it up. You're a disgrace." I didn't engage. I just walked back upstairs, called my own mother, and explained what happened. To my surprise, she said, she has a right to be upset. Story 5. My friend, 19M, is hosting a barbecue tomorrow to celebrate finishing his military service. Today, he told our friend group that his high school friends, all around 19-20M, would also be there. That put us on edge, none of us like them, for good reasons. While discussing it in a Discord call, without him present, the 5 of us debated how to tell him we might not show up if they were there. I decided to text him directly, trying to be honest, but diplomatic. I said, "Hey, just a heads up, I can be civil around your other friends and still have a good time, but I don't like them, and neither do most of us. Some might even skip because of it. It's nothing against you, just them. Honestly, it might be better to split this into 2 separate celebrations since our groups don't mix well." I meant it as a courtesy, so he wouldn't wonder why people bailed, but he took it differently. He suddenly joined the Discord call, where 3 of us were chatting, plus one who couldn't come anyway, and snapped. "If you don't want to be there with them, then don't come at all." That wasn't what I'd said. I'd explicitly told him I'd still go and be polite, but he'd clearly misunderstood. At that point, though, I didn't correct him. Arguing would have just made things worse. Story 6. Am I being a jerk? For skipping a work event even though I'd said I'd be there. For context, I've, 23F, only been at this company for 3 months. I'm a legal assistant and not interested in law. Tried it out, hate it, and have been applying to different roles. They're nice people, but it's not my vibe. Elder law, previously coming from a 30-person market newsroom. Opposite as hell. My firm is holding a referral partner event today at 5 p.m. I didn't plug in the address until I got home to drop off my lunch dishes. The venue is 45 minutes one way, not including traffic. I'm probably looking at 1.5 hours of driving after being at work all day. I told everyone I'd be there, but not for very long. Now that I'm home though, I really don't want to go. I'm not in the mood to drive. Not in the mood to fake schmooze with people who are double my age. Not in the mood to get to know coworkers who are also double my age. I just don't want to go. The only issue is that I said I was going. It's not make or break, but now I feel like an asshole for blowing the team off. It's not like my attendance would affect anything, money, space, whatever. It's just a brewery and hand food type of event. Casual. I don't know what to tell them tomorrow. I want to be honest, but I know it won't translate well. Why do companies throw events like this and expect employees to come? I'm very anti-work takes over my life. I'm a hard worker, but only between the 8 to 4 shift. When the clock hits 4, I'm packing up and leaving. I don't feel the need to see my coworkers at events outside work. Not sure why I even said yes. I guess I felt like I had to. Ugh. I don't know what to do or feel other than I am not going, haha. They made me stuff 50 party favor bags for the event with 12 different items. I was literally sweating at work packing all those bags today. I'm over it. Story 7. You entered a monogamous relationship with your partner. They changed the rules and didn't tell you. I am a woman 11 years past discovering my partner's infidelity, having repeatedly sacrificed my well-being to address the resulting turmoil. After seeing a recommendation online, I downloaded the audiobook Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life on Audible and am halfway through. The book's tough love approach has been transformative, highlighting mistakes I made in prioritizing reconciliation over myself. A key insight compared my partner's justifications for cheating to unacceptable behaviors like excessive drinking or physical abuse, prompting me to question why I felt compelled to reconcile. This shifted my perspective overnight, leading me to research divorce options, such as hiring a lawyer without informing my partner. I feel empowered to prioritize myself and am no longer uncertain, urging others to read the book to recognize similar patterns. Answer to ATA for deciding to research divorce options without telling my partner, you are not the asshole for researching divorce options privately. After 11 years of emotional sacrifice following your partner's infidelity, prioritizing your well-being is a reasonable response, especially as the book Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life helped you recognize patterns of justification and manipulation. Keeping your plans private allows you to explore options, such as consulting a lawyer or assessing financial implications, without external pressure, which is wise given the trust issues caused by your partner's actions. The book's perspective, comparing cheating excuses to unacceptable behaviors, understandably shifted your mindset, and acting on this clarity is a healthy step. However, your partner may feel blindsided if they learn of your plans later, especially if they believe reconciliation efforts were ongoing. To move forward, continue researching discreetly to ensure informed decisions, but consider how and when to communicate your intentions to avoid unnecessary conflict. Story 8. I realized I'm the crazy ex. I am a woman navigating a divorce 6 months after discovering my partner's infidelity. I am managing well, though I occasionally dwell on the past, but I increasingly feel relief in letting go. Today, I was unsettled after overhearing a colleague describe meeting her boyfriend, who was married with children at the time, calling it unfortunate but claiming the marriage was already over. Earlier, she shared a voice message from her boyfriend's ex-wife, labeling her as unreasonable and crazy, and detailed her behavior to others. This perspective frustrated me, as I empathize with the ex-wife, having experienced betrayal myself. I find it challenging to co-parent 2 children under 10 with someone who shows minimal integrity, knowing betrayed spouses are often unfairly portrayed as irrational. Story 9. I am a 22-year-old individual who recently graduated college with a finance degree and took a trip to South Africa, including climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, as a graduation gift. After returning from the mountain, sunburned, dusty, and wearing worn clothes with a mohawk hidden under a dirty hat, I walked to a gas station to buy cigarettes and a lighter, my first purchase since quitting, feeling nervous and stumbling over my words. Sitting on a sidewalk near the gas station, I noticed a man exiting with 2 gas station sandwiches, judging his appearance and food choice harshly. As he approached, I frowned, hoping he would leave, but he offered me half his sandwich, assuming I was homeless and hungry. Surprised, I thanked him, realizing my judgment was unfair and that my appearance likely prompted his kindness. Eating the sandwich, I found it surprisingly satisfying, and the experience lifted my post-trip depression, making me laugh and reflect on my assumptions. Story 10. I am a 19-year-old male college student who was friends with two women, aged 19 and 21, whom I met at school. We enjoyed spending time together, and since we live near each other, we recently went to Boston for a meal to relieve boredom. During dinner, the 21-year-old woman shared that she and her boyfriend ended their relationship because she cheated on him, citing his controlling behavior as justification. I had met her boyfriend and found him pleasant, but regardless, I believe cheating is wrong and one should leave instead. The 19-year-old woman laughed, and both seemed unconcerned. I acted indifferent at the time, but upon returning home, I blocked them on communication platforms, finding their attitudes immature and unacceptable. Story 11. I am an individual residing next to a neighbor who often hosted loud, disruptive parties until 2 a.m, frequently appearing intoxicated. Several months ago, at 9 p.m. after sunset, he held another noisy gathering in his front yard. I heard screams and looked outside, seeing him motionless under a street lamp. My uncle called 111, the emergency number. The neighbor was making distressing sounds, having climbed the lamp post and fallen, injuring his head. Paramedics arrived, performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and took him to the hospital. His house is now for sale, and his family confirmed he passed away while they were moving his belongings. Story 12. I am an individual whose mother, an immigrant from Asia, contacted a tech billionaire from her home country on Facebook 2 years ago to help my brother find a job in Silicon Valley. While visiting home, my sister informed me of this, and I confirmed the messages. My mother wrote, quote, "Hello, my name is Name, and I am also from country. We are proud of your achievements. My son is in San Jose job searching. Do you have opportunities for him?" Unquote. The billionaire did not respond. Story 13. She was carrying hundreds of plastic bags, all wrapped together, in one big plastic bag about the size of a beach ball. It might not have been heavy, but her back was now arched over like a plank after all her years alive, and each step she took was a lifetime as she inched down the road, step by step. I passed her on the way to the shop and asked if I could carry the bags for her. Wouldn't Christ do the same? I thought she said no, but I tried to insist and asked how far she had to go. She gestured down the street and spoke Mandarin, but I still understood that if she carried on at her pace, carrying something uncomfortable, then it would still take her at least 40 minutes to get to the bus stop. Sure enough, after 20 minutes shopping, I come back the opposite way, and she is about 4 meters from where I last saw her. I stopped her again, now eating into her momentous journey, and try to grab the huge beach ball of plastic bags from her, so she has no choice, but she bats me away and gestures down the road speaking Mandarin. Twice I tried, and third would have been insanity. I gave up knowing that I did enough. But I still think of her, and then about me thinking I have done enough, and then her insistence she'd do it herself even though she was walking with her eyes to the pavement at a snail's pace. Anyway, this is one of the stories that reminds me of what I believe synchronicity is and how existence speaks to us. Story 14. Turn the tables after being called sir on the phone. I'm a woman, but my voice often gets mistaken for a man's over the phone. While calling my insurance company for help, the representative kept saying sir, despite my polite correction that I'm female. He didn't stop, so I decided to have some fun. I started replying with yes, ma'am, every chance I got. After a few exchanges, he got flustered and exclaimed, I'm a man, not a woman. But I just kept going with yes, ma'am. Finally, he got so irritated that he ended the call. I still chuckle thinking about that moment. Story 15. She woke me up for no reason, so I gave her something to stay awake for. Betty struck again at 4:47 a.m. Not starving, not in peril, just bored and craving chaos. She knocked a water glass over, flung a sock off the radiator, and raced across my chest like she was late for a non-existent meeting. I bolted upright, thinking it was an emergency. Nope. She just stared at me like, "Why are you awake?" So I brewed my coffee, sat in silence, and schemed. That afternoon, Betty was in peak nap mode, belly exposed, one paw dramatically aloft, snoring like she was dreaming of a royal catnap. Completely oblivious. I strolled in with a single sheet of tin foil. One slow, deliberate crinkle. She shot up, spun midair, and landed like she'd forgotten what gravity was. Then she stormed off, acting like I was the villain. I stayed quiet. She's been giving the foil suspicious glares ever since. Story 16. Another parking story. I live directly across a small city park, which is attached to the elementary school just down the block. There's plenty of regular traffic at the park, and people are really good about staying on that side of the street. Not the parents picking up their children. I feel I need to preface the rest of this by saying that, however, I do sympathize with these folks. If I let one person park in my driveway while waiting for their kids to get out, then I have to let everybody. So, it's a no-go for me. The release of the kids from school coincided with my getting home from work almost down to the minute. And for a long time this school year, my neighbors and I were in a battle to keep people out of our driveways. Well, one day I came home to a truck left idling with nobody in it, and I could not fit my bigger truck next to this guy, so I parked behind and went inside. Started my usual routine. 15 minutes goes by and no driver. I checked my cameras and he'd been there for almost 40 by this point, so I jumped in the shower. Guess who was knocking on my door 2 minutes into me being in the shower? Folks, I didn't hurry to get out. My showers generally last about 5 to 6 minutes, and I pushed this one to 10. Got out and dressed, but I hadn't heard any knocking. Check cameras, truck still there. Guy is on his phone on our porch, angrily pacing. Once I was dressed, I figured I'd just wait for him to knock again. It took him another 5 to start. I open the door and this guy starts berating me, saying he's late for work and he had an arrangement with the people who lived here last year, and he never had a problem parking there before. BS, dude, I lived here last year. Guy didn't have any kids with him, so I didn't feel bad, and also made me wonder why he was there in the first place. It took me another 5 to get out there and move my truck. Story 17. I cut ties with my aunt. When my grandpa, who raised me, passed away, my aunt, his daughter, was named beneficiary of his bank accounts. His will instructed her to use the funds to pay off the family home and share the remainder with her brother and me. Instead, she let the house fall into disrepair and cut off all contact. She inherited nearly $1 million. For context, my grandma, grandpa, and I were incredibly close. They called me their third child. My parents struggled with addiction, and my grandparents fought for and won custody of me when I was 6. My aunt used to join us for holidays, weekends, and birthdays, and I cherished those family moments with her. My response was simple. I shared the truth with our family. I told my great-aunts, uncles, cousins, and my grandparents' siblings. Now, none of them speak to her, and she hasn't been invited to the last 6 family reunions. Meanwhile, I've grown closer than ever to my extended family. With the help of therapy and these new, meaningful connections, I feel richer than I ever imagined. I hadn't thought about her in years until now. Last I heard, she's navigating a divorce, and her only child has also gone no contact. Story 18. I was publicly embarrassed in class, so I bided my time to get even. We weren't friends, just classmates who sat close, traded jokes when it suited her, and otherwise kept our distance. One day in class, I made an honest but silly comment, not aiming for laughs. She pounced. Loudly, with a smug smirk and the whole class watching, she said, "Wow, are you really that clueless?" The room erupted in laughter. The teacher didn't intervene. I brushed it off with a smile, but it stung. You know that feeling when you replay a moment and wish you'd fired back? I didn't. I waited. A few weeks later, we were assigned to the same group project, not her choice. She barely contributed, assuming she could ride our work. When presentation time came, I submitted the version I'd completed, leaving her part out. I quietly told the teacher she hadn't done anything, with evidence to back it up. She looked baffled when her name wasn't called, even more so when she was graded separately. And when she asked if I'd said something, I replied calmly, "Didn't think you'd want my input. You called me clueless, right?" No scene, no shouting. Just a subtle, ouch moment. Someone in the back muttered, "Whoa." She never spoke to me again. Story 19. They broke the law, fired me, and lost it all. I was fired for violating a policy I was never trained on. So I reported them, and they lost their liquor license. I worked at a shop selling alcohol and other goods. The job was fine, but management was a mess, no proper training, minimal oversight, and zero documentation showing we were taught legal procedures, like proper ID checks. One day, they called me in and terminated me for breaching company policy over an ID check I allegedly mishandled. The catch? They never trained me. Not once. No handbook, no meeting, no signed agreement. When I asked for proof of the policy or my training, they had nothing. So I walked away, calmly, professionally. Then I contacted the local licensing authority. Turns out, selling alcohol without ensuring staff are trained on ID verification is a major violation, especially with no records to prove training occurred. Their alcohol license? Revoked. Now, they can't sell liquor at all. I'm also pursuing compensation because firing someone over a rule they were never taught isn't just unfair, it's against the law. They thought they could outsmart me. Story 20. Guys, is this a bad idea? I'm reconsidering this plan. I didn't expect some would see it as too professional. I've never been to Vegas, so I might tweak the idea, maybe just have my friends keep a digital version on their phones to share with potential matches. Back to brainstorming, LOL. Thanks for the honest feedback. Dating is tough, especially when you're seeking something beyond a fling. So, I came up with the idea of creating dating business cards for my friends to give to guys they think I'd vibe with. Front: my name, a photo of my face, age, town, and a QR code linking to my Instagram, Snapchat, and phone number. Back: a full-body photo. I'm a plus-size woman and want to be upfront, plus a short bio about me and my height. I'm 5 feet 10 inches, which I know can be intimidating for some. Is this a silly idea? I think it's unique and could make for a fun love story. If I go for it, What should I include on the card to encourage a guy who's interested to reach out? Story 21. Am I wrong for wanting to cut off my family? Hi Reddit. I'm a 30-year-old woman seeking advice. My sister-in-law, Bianca, had her last child a year before I announced my pregnancy. In my final months of pregnancy, she falsely claimed to my brother that I shared a family secret. Our mother, Karen, had an affair. I only learned about this accusation from my dad 3 months after giving birth, as I was unaware of the affair itself. After I gave birth, my brother didn't visit me or meet my baby. My son is now 3, and I still haven't heard from him. For context, my husband and I moved 2 hours away after our wedding, so visiting isn't as simple as dropping by. During a recent video call with my parents, my brother walked in, and they abruptly ended the call. Part of me wonders why my parents are going along with his behavior, but another part of me is ready to walk away and cut contact with them entirely. Any advice on what I should do? Story 22. Would I be the asshole if I talked to my mom about timing? I'm a student, prefer not to share my age, involved in cadets. My mom, 43F, gets frustrated when I'm rushing or late getting out the door, which sometimes leads to arguments. If you've done cadets, you know getting the dress uniform ready takes time. Last time my mom got upset, I was struggling to put my thick hair in a bun and tie my tie, which made me 2 minutes later than she wanted. I get that this is annoying, and I apologized. She asked if there was anything she could do to help me be faster. I suggested she start dinner earlier so I'd have more time to get ready. Now, with an hour until I need to leave, she just started cooking. I still need to eat, get dressed, and polish my boots, which I can't do yet because my brother is using the only polish. I know I should have polished my boots yesterday, but I procrastinated, which is my fault. It's hard to get moving until I'm down to the last 10 minutes. Would I be the asshole if I asked her again to start dinner earlier or to give me a heads up if she can't?